Welcome back. All right, I want to talk about Too Hot to Handle. I've talked about Too Hot to Handle before. The difference is this time we're in the midst of a season. We got 3 episodes left. They'll be released next week, and we'll see who wins and all that fun stuff next week. But it is a $200,000 U.S. prize to start, and with 3 episodes left, they're down to $110,000 left. And kissing and any kind of physical affection that the show deems to be over the line. There have been plenty of discussions I've had with my wife on this. Certain things that they don't qualify as rule breaks, and I'm like, I don't know if I can agree with that. So currently there's three that are actually in couples. You have Alex and Elise, Isaac and Hannah, Louie and Christine. Alex and Elise are delightful, both from the UK, and I think they're the most likable couple. Um, Alex kind of has some similarity to Hugh Grant in how he speaks, and there's sort of an awkwardness but a charm there as well. And I think Elise is just really, she's sweet and it works. And so even though there was a temptation on the last episode, I've kind of figured out how they edit this too. Like they try to edit like, ooh, did they, didn't they? And I was like, she didn't. She didn't do anything wrong. So one thing I want to mention too with Alex and Elise was that they had a kiss. So kissing is a fine. It eats into your money. Now, as a group, they had just won back $48,000 because a couple didn't do anything. They had the overnight in the private suite. They didn't do anything, so they win back $48,000. That night, Alex and Elise had a 12-minute kiss that apparently is worthy of a $36,000 fine. That's ridiculous. I saw that and I was like, wait, what? So the show really does kind of just make up the fines, make up what they're going to be. Generally, it's been $6,000 for a kiss. In this case, it's the kiss lasted 12 minutes. Hey, full on. I'm going to say this. First off, that's very impressive. I don't know that I could do that for 12 straight minutes. And also, they didn't do anything else. The fact that there was no other groping or anything of that nature, I have to say kudos to them for that. And yet it cost them 36 grand. And I was like, that's dumb. There are people who've been caught doing much worse that it didn't cost them that much. I remember there was one couple on, was it the Brazilian one, that they did everything, and so it was just a blanket fine of, I think it was 40,000 was it, and they were like, that's the maximum fine. And at the time I thought, well, that's a lot of money. 36 grand, like that's a pretty nice vehicle there. Hope it was a good kiss for them. So there's Isaac and Hannah now. Isaac is one that I really don't know that he's gonna be around much longer. I don't know if he's gonna make it to the finale. And I say this because first he was with Courtney, and he's with Courtney, and he's recorded on TV for everybody to see, saying, how much he cares about her and how they have this great connection, and he really likes her and all this stuff. And then he goes on a date with Yasmin, and Yasmin, being Latina, more his speed, and so he goes to Courtney and says, "Yeah, so I'm gonna hang out with Yasmin." So at the end of the day, they all get into bed with one another, and there's always the drama of who's going to get into what bed. So initially, it looked like Isaac was going to, do the right thing, but then he didn't, and then Hannah starts hitting on him, so he's like, "All right." And not only that, but Yasmin told him, "I'm not breaking any rules. We're not kissing. We're not doing anything sexually because I don't want to lose any more money." Probably thinking I'm new, and she was not one of the originals. So with the Asterisks, those are the ones that have come in since the start of the show, and she just didn't want to cause any trouble, right? And so Isaac hears that and goes, "All right, well." And then Hannah's hitting on him, so he's like, "Okay, well, just I'm going over here then." So it definitely seems like whichever young lady is willing to engage in activity that is against the rules, he's willing to be around, which is not something that surprises me entirely. But it doesn't make him look great. He does not come across very well on TV, so he's not winning the prize. At the end, the prize is interesting. On the Brazilian version, it was split between everybody. I think it was done that way both seasons. The Latino version, it was split between everybody as well. The American/UK one, they don't do that. They have winners, and it's interesting because if you have that fund where everybody's going to split it, it feels like it's a more communal thing. Not only that, but one thing I noticed in the foreign versions of the show, that they're more forgiving. So if a couple says, "Yeah, we made out last night," their other castmates will say, "Yeah, you guys, you're close. You've earned that," and so they don't get upset. They're like, "As long as you tell us, it's fine." This one, not so much. Now the funny thing is, people will hide it. And they'll be like, "Well, I'm not telling them. I'm not telling them." But you get ratted out. So Lana, this cone that tells them what to do, she'll say this person was fined for, and she'll say exactly what they did. So I have no idea why people lie. At this point, I'm convinced that producers and people in charge of the show say, "Look, if you can lie, that'd be great. We want dramatic tension." Maybe that's something that with the foreign versions of the show they're not happy about. Maybe they don't want the cast to just be that accepting and say, "Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That cost us 3,000. That cost us 6,000. It's fine. Whatever. It's no big deal." Now, Hunter might be my favorite on the show. He comes across as kind of vacuous. He he comes across as pretty vacuous. Now, when he was with Elise, it was really funny because they went out on a date and there was just nothing. And you can just see she's dead behind her eyes. And they were doing the little isolation interviews. And hers were along the lines of, "I'm trying to make conversation, but this isn't easy." And his isolation interviews were, "This is going great. I love this." Although I always question, when did these interviews actually happen? So you splice it all together, but are they actually talking about this instance or not? And I would think in many cases they're not, especially when they cut from one isolation interview to another. And in the case of Christine, and we'll get to Louie and Christine, Christine was wearing a completely different outfit. Her hair was completely different and her earrings were different. And I was like, okay, that interview was at a completely different time. That is not what we're talking about. So what the clip they used might have worked with the scene, but there's no way that that's what she was talking about. So again, it's one of those things that I keep an eye on. I know it's not real reality when you're watching a reality show, but Hunter, I had a real kick out of it, and I got this idea in the back of my mind that if you had a dog that became sentient and human, I think it would communicate along the same lines as Hunter. I get no bad feelings from Hunter. I think he's a really nice guy. He's just there was a point where I was like, is he playing dumb? Is he saying these things to get a reaction? And I've come to the conclusion that I'm 50-50 on it. I'm going to be on the fence. But in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, he was probably a golden retriever, and somebody made a wish. Some kid made a wish about their golden retriever, and now Hunter is human. And kudos to him for that. But it's just one of those things like I cannot shake. So I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him that before the show is over, he's good, because Elise dumped him to go with Alex. Alex dumped Megan to go with Elise. I felt bad for Megan because she seems like a very nice girl. And apparently she's gone through where she's always the second pick. I know how that feels. I know how it feels to be the backup. It sucks. I know how it feels to not be the first choice of people. One of the reasons that my relationship with my wife works as well as it does is it feels like for one of the first times, I'm not saying the first, but one of the first times it feels like I'm actually the first choice. I'm actually, and it's a weird feeling. So I do feel bad for Megan that she's gone through this, and that now she's gone through this in a very well watched television show. I thought Alex handled it correctly. He clearly wanted to be with Elise, but that was tough. And Megan, meanwhile, is having to watch him and Elise get closer. I don't know how she feels about that, but it can't be great. Can't be a great feeling, right? So not everybody's in a couple. That's the thing that's always interesting to me on this show. Because in some instances, the show will eliminate people that aren't in couples and be like, nope, they're not even trying to be in a couple. But they're not costing you any money. They're not doing anything wrong. So that's where I kind of get thrown off. Now, the latest that came in last night's final episode that I watched, episode 7. Again, the next 3 episodes release. I think it's next Friday or this Friday. You have Lindsay and Bryce that came in. Now, every time somebody comes in, I think they're coached to be as rule breaky as possible. You never see one come in and say, I'm going to behave. I'm going to obey the rules because I want to win money. They all come in with the same, I'm going to break rules, and I'm a rebel, and I think Lana's rules are dumb. That's the name of the cone. And I'm never listening to any of that. And then an episode later, they blend in with everybody else, and they're saying all the same things as everybody else, which is, money's good. Why don't we just stop fooling around for a couple weeks and make money? Which brings me to Dre, and I'm ending with Dre for a good reason. He in the episode again, it's episode 7. He breaks the rules with Lindsay, new girl coming in, and I'm gonna say if Lindsay breaks Dre's heart, I'm gonna be choked because Dre is the most entertaining person I have ever seen on this show. The one thing that kind of throws you off a bit is you now have Trey and Dre. Now Trey, when he came in, he had a date with, I think it was Christine, and it just didn't go anywhere. Where Christine was like, "Yeah, handsome guy, but I'm with Louie." So they have Trey and Dre. They're both single, but Dre is trying to pair up with Lindsay. Trey hasn't even been shown the last couple episodes, other than when they have their gatherings in the Palapa. They have a gathering and Trey's there, just reminding us he exists. I've always found it interesting with dating shows. I know Bachelor in Paradise Canada too. There's always people that are there. They don't even show them, and unless everybody's gathered together, you don't see them. And it's like, oh, okay. And the theory that I've always had is, so they're not doing anything wrong. They're behaving. They're probably hanging out, and getting to know people, and everybody's friendly with each other, but they're not doing anything bad, so we're not seeing them on TV. So again, sometimes they eliminate them for that, it seems. So I do hope that the Dre and Lindsay hit it off, but Lindsay, of course, went on the date with Louie. Christine was given the option to trust Louie or not. She opted not to. And again, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, but Louis messed up and realized he messed up. And it was something. I think my favorite part is that they're on a date for like 15 minutes. Your significant other, or potential significant other, because not boyfriend, girlfriend technically, but your significant other, you've seen them 15 minutes ago. And they're like, I'm feeling really tempted. I might. And, I told Yvonne last night, I said, it would take me more than 15 minutes for us to be apart before I'd be, looking around. It's so over the top. Now, this is why they cast these people. They cast people that are promiscuous. They cast people that they're partiers. This is who they are. And it's just a reality. I know with Love Island, the first episode when, nice guy is on the show and he's talking about how he doesn't really party and he's not really into the whole party thing. And he doesn't identify really with that either. I thought, well, he might have a hard time because these shows generally tend to bring in people who are partiers. The drinking is constant. Every single scene, it seems, there's alcohol present and they are consuming it. I know with Love is Blind, that's been a talking point, that they give people copious amounts of alcohol because you make poor decisions when you've had a lot of alcohol. So think about it. These are all young people. These are all very attractive young people who are running around the women are running around in bikinis that are barely there. And I don't think they're theirs either. They all seem to be the same style. And there was a joke Elise made about hers a couple episodes back that I thought that proves that it's not hers, because she was joking about how ridiculous it was. That there's so little fabric to the bikini bottom. And so I thought, yeah, this kind of proves that this isn't their clothing. But you've got this, you've got very attractive people, you're attracted to them, they're attracted to you, you're barely wearing anything, and then you add alcohol. And then you've got them spending money. Because if you didn't have the alcohol, I think the prize fund, it might not be 200 grand, but it wouldn't be 110,000 either. Just gonna say. But I think the show intentionally does it that way. Like, it feels like there's times where the show is trying to make them spend money. Like, okay, this couple's messed up a lot. Let's give them the private suite. But this couple is already struggling to keep their hands to themselves. Louis and Christine being the example, where they've cost, it's got to be half the money that they've cost. I know the $36,000 here, but again, to me, that was ridiculous. That was way too much. Louis and Christine cost them $48,000 about 24 hours before that. And Louis a player, and you can see it. You can see that he wants, to be good and behave. But when he was out with Lindsay, he couldn't. And so we will see in the final 3 episodes him having to come clean. One thing with this show, if you mess up and it's on camera, it's not like other dating shows where the significant other doesn't find out until the show's done. And then you have a reunion show and they're like, yeah, so we were together and everything was great, but then I saw what he did with that girl and we're done. Or vice versa, she was great, but I saw how she talked about me behind my back and I can't do it. So this show, they make sure it all comes out. So Louis is in deep trouble once we get to episode 8, I would think, because I don't understand why lie. Like I don't get it. I don't understand the lying part. They're going to find out. They're going to find out almost immediately. So the lying either again is coached by people in production, or when they cast these people, they make sure they're people who are more likely to try to cover their tracks, more likely to try to lie, even when it does them absolutely no good. So there you go. I just wanted to talk about this today. This is what I've been watching. Because again, you don't have to do a whole bunch of homework. You don't have to watch 15 other shows. It's not like it's the Marvel Universe. It's not like it's, Star Wars. You got a 50 million different kinds of shows and all that. Try to keep track of which ones are in which order. It's ridiculousness. But 36 grand, I thought that was wrong. I may have swore a couple times at TV like that is absolute BS. And just that, I thought that was stupid. Because again, this is a rule that retroactively they said we're going to make it so that kiss was worth $36,000 because that was 12 minutes. Again, I am impressed. I am very impressed. And other people hearing that was 12 minutes were impressed too. They're like, what? 12 minutes? Are you kidding me? Yeah. That's pretty impressive. But anyways, I do hope that out of all the couples, I'd like to see Alex and Elise win. They've been together. They've been respectful to one another. They've got it pretty good. That's the couple that I would vote to win. My guess is it'll probably end up going to either Isaac and Hannah or Louie and Christine if they survive when it comes out that Lindsay said, "Would you like to grab my boobs?" And he goes, "Yep, sure." What are you doing? Why? Why? What? No, why? So again, I had to turn to my wife and say, I wouldn't do that. I said, unless you were there and you said, sure, go ahead, then sure. When in Rome. But anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And again, there's 3 more episodes left. It's ridiculous. I like the ridiculous dating shows. They're funny. All right. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.